Good morning again, my friend, and welcome to the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see what's going on with the hurricane and events down in Florida. It is pretty striking, I think. That in fact, Fox News has got some incredible video that I want to share with you. A Fox News meteorologist. Um, let's share this. I want you to see the actual video. And this morning, this meteorologist then was on Fox and Friends, and he's talking about this and what was going on. But putting himself out there, rescuing this woman in her flooded car, pretty incredible. Take a look at this.
With Bob just a little while ago, and he said, "Hold on, I'm going to go help that lady in that car." And he joins us right now from one of the areas around Atlanta. Bob, tell us, when we saw you last, there was a lady in that white car.
Look at that
behind
car.
you, and we could hear her screaming her head off during your live shot. And eventually you said, I've called 911, but the water was rising and you had to do something. So pick up the story.
Steve, I know that we're swamped here with all the 911 calls because there's so many high water rescues that we've already documented so far, and called 911 in 5 minutes.
Look at
minutes,
him.
and you could hear her screaming, right? You could hear it during my live shot real loud, and that's her car right there. Windshield wipers are still on. So I just said, you know what? I realize I'm with you guys. I'm on the air, but I can't let it go. So I just
you know what? That takes a certain amount of courage to be able to do it and say, I got to go out there and I've got to try and rescue this woman. Pretty incredible. Hey, best wishes to your mom. Steve says, my mother is in South Carolina. Called her this morning. She's only without power, so pretty safe for her. Pretty incredible what we see happening there. But I had to share, again, you've got that reporter jumping in, and I would have a hard time also just, I've called 911. Yeah, sorry, can't do anything. That really says something about, I think about him in the midst of a live shot, and I'm sorry, I got to go help this woman. That's a pretty incredible piece of video, I think, this morning from Fox News Television. Let's see what else I've got to share with you. Actually, I have a number of stories that I want to share with you this morning. We have, let's talk about Eric Adams. The GOP smells blood after the Eric Adams indictment. Democrats brushing it off. Let's see what they're saying. So, you know what's going on with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. I've talked about it on the show this week and not gotten into it in great detail, but it's been a big story. Adams was federally indicted Wednesday on charges of corruption, bribery, receiving foreign campaign contributions. Republicans were quick to pounce on this, especially after a string of several investigations involving the mayor, members of his administration. The New York Democrats will pay the price for this corruption, will they? I would love to believe that. I would love to believe, yeah, we're going to see Democrats paying the price for this corruption. Really? I don't. I would love to believe that, but I can't quite get myself there, if you know what I mean. But that's just been an amazing story. Oh, I am in regard to the hurricane, which I mentioned a few moments ago. The death toll now has risen to 7. Millions of people without power. So it's about 2 million people that are without power this morning. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis saying that authorities are expecting the situation to improve even as the day wears on. But it's a pretty tough situation for folks in Florida right now. This was a story that I saw this morning. I didn't talk about it on air, but I thought this is a perfect piece to share with you here. Too risky for another Donald Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. According to Representative Eli Crane of Arizona, he says that Donald Trump should rethink this. Said, though I appreciate the former president's courage, strong desire to rally his supporters, I strongly suggest that he and his campaign avoid this site on October 5th and in the future, he said. My suggestion to Donald Trump is that he beef up his private security details with individuals who are loyal to him and not burdened by the bureaucracy and culture of an organization that many of us used to hold in high esteem. There was a story trending this morning, and I shared it, about this Secret Service officer who was apparently was drunk and meeting up then with staff of Kamala Harris and so on, and just according to reports, plastered. He was just absolutely. And there's video of they wound up. He attempted to. He was hugging one of Kamala Harris's staffers, very much unwanted, just loaded. And there's video of that. There's video of him passed out in the hallway. Guy's a Secret Service agent. I mean, that to me is just absolutely incredible. First of all, to have so little respect for yourself. I just can't bring myself to that where, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. So Representative Eli Crane saying Donald Trump should not return to Butler, Pennsylvania, even though Donald Trump has talked about the fact that he's going to do it again. Also, there was a story at Politico this morning regarding Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Republicans stay out of U.S. politics. I touched on this also a little bit this morning. This is a story I've not shared yet from Politico. So Republican supporters of Ukraine on Capitol Hill saying Zelensky made a strategic error when he visited a weapons plant in Scranton, which is Joe Biden's hometown. And then also when he waded into the presidential race, calling J.D. Vance too radical. So the visit to the plant caught the attention of House Speaker Mike Johnson. He said it was a partisan campaign event in solidarity with the Democrats, and that Zelensky's comment about Vance. And by the way, that trip that Zelensky to Scranton. So Zelensky arrives in the United States, and then he is at taxpayer expense flown to Pennsylvania for what? I mean, that's a question I have. For what? It's just absolutely incredible the way this government spends money. I think just absolutely crazy. So David saying that Zelensky flown in a military plane. But it's just incredible. Why is he being flown anywhere? Why is he in Pennsylvania, one of the battleground states? Why is he there? I think it's a great question, and Republicans are correct to answer questions. I'm just poking through this Politico story, trying to see if there's anything else we should. Senator John Cornyn said, I think it's a mistake for any foreign leader to get involved in our domestic politics, and Ukraine needs all the friends it can get. So I think it was an unforced error. I think he needs not to make that mistake again. We have geopolitical reasons to continue to support Ukraine. So I don't think that's going to change over one incident. That's Senator John Cornyn of Texas. So you've got a number of Republicans reacting to Zelensky's decision to go to Pennsylvania. That to me is just absolutely mind blowing. There was one other story or actually a couple of more stories, and this is really kind of news from Hollywood. I wanted to show her photo to you because you know her. You know Maggie Smith. She's best known for her roles in the Harry Potter films, and she died at a hospital today. She passed away. Again, London is about 6 hours ahead of the United States. So they're ahead of us, but her family releasing a statement saying that Maggie Smith passed away peacefully in a hospital early this morning. An intensely private person. She was with friends and family at the end. She leaves 2 sons, 5 loving grandchildren who were devastated by the loss of their extraordinary mother and grandmother. That's a sad story. I always enjoyed everything that I saw her in. I thought she was just one of those actors that you enjoyed watching on screen. I think they had a certain actors and actresses just really have a certain presence on screen. And Maggie Smith was one of them. So sad to learn about her death. And then there's a piece at Axios this morning. And adults who say they feel lonely sometimes or more often. First of all, there's a big difference between sometimes and more often. Do you feel lonely sometimes? I do. There are times I feel lonely. Sometimes. Sometimes is a lot different than more often than sometimes. If you're feeling that, so the way these stories just get framed, I find infuriating to me. And so here are the states. South Dakota, 39% of adults say they feel lonely sometimes or more often. Now, again, if you ask me, do I feel lonely sometimes? Yes. Do I feel lonely more often? No. I feel lonely sometimes. I think we all go through that, don't you? It's kind of normal. Even sometimes when you're with other folks, but maybe you're not connecting or just feeling lonely. I just think that's a part of the human condition, isn't it? Strikes me that way. So Oregon, 44.7% of adults say they feel lonely sometimes or more often. It's that whole more often that I just find incredibly. So this was the latest vibe check. What the hell is a vibe check? Have you heard of this? From the U.S. Census Bureau? Excuse me. Feelings of isolation and loneliness are a real public health threat, so much so that Surgeon General Vivek Murthy last year issued an advisory on the matter. Let's get into this. They broke it down by loneliest states, and as you could see, South Dakota is not one. South Dakota is not one of them. And we do better than our neighboring states. Nebraska, 41%. They're up a few percentage points. Same thing in North Dakota, Wyoming. So they're all up in the 41% range. Minnesota, like us, Minnesota's actually a little bit down from us. The whole question I just find to be absolute, a little, oh man, I hate pop-ups. Iowa, Delaware, and Wisconsin had the lowest. So folks in Iowa are much less lonely. The whole thing, I think, is just a little bit, and I hear you, Steve. Steve said, I'm good being alone. I actually prefer it most of the time. And I do as well. I like being alone. And I appreciate the time that I have to myself. And I do, but I'm also always glad when Katie gets home at the end of the day, and she gets home. And my loneliness is, I would say, broken in part because of my dog. My dog makes it. I think pets are just incredibly important in our lives. And I love our dog Rocco, which I had a photo to share with you of of Rocco. Those of you who follow me on Facebook have seen him. I posted a number of photos of my furry friend. He's just a great dog. And especially before Katie gets home, Rocco is like, he's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, because Katie had Rocco prior to the time that she and I started residing together. She bought Rocco. And again, she had seen him, was very taken with Rocco, and she wanted to have a dog at her place. Again, living alone, which I can appreciate. So she got Rocco. So Rocco has always been a little bit more connected to her than me, where, he loves me, no question about that. He's a great dog. He just when I get home from work every day, I get home around between 1:30, 2:00, generally by the time I'm home. So I go do some walking now. I started walking again this week, which I just feel better. I go a little, take a little walk, do as much as I can, and then come home, maybe do a little bit of shopping before I come home. And Rocco just rolls over on his side, and, he's just he's just a great dog. But when she comes home, oh man, I'm second banana. I am second banana. He is her dog, and but he really breaks up the loneliness. I think pets are a big part of that. Certainly is for me, that Rocco really helps break up my loneliness. But the idea of Steve says he likes the name Rocco. It's a great dog name. You got to, that's totally Katie. I don't, and I would have to ask her. I don't know if he had that name prior or if she named him that herself. He may have been named Rocco prior, but he's a great dog. And kind of like me, he's having a harder time getting up off the bed and, and engaging, so that we're doing some things for him. But I just think pets are great boredom busters. They really make a difference. And I love having a dog. And I'm more of a dog person. I've never been a cat person. I've never owned a cat, never had cats growing up, never had the interest in getting a cat. That's not to criticize folks who have cats or cats themselves. But they're different. They're different than dogs. And I just love that I think having a dog really helps break that loneliness, at least for me. But I'm like Steve. I enjoy a certain amount of time alone each day. I kind of thrive on that. Excuse me. So I'm going to leave it there for now. That's really all I had. I wanted to touch on those stories for you briefly this morning. I want to wish you a really terrific weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. I don't have anything lined up, actually, just some cleanup and laundry and the usual kind of things, but just relax, enjoy the weekend. As I said, I'm enjoying my walking again. 2 days now in a row, which is not a habit yet. 2 months would be more of a habit. But it's been feeling good to start walking again. So I'll do some of that this weekend, and I want to wish you a great weekend. Thanks so much for making the Greg Belfrage Show a part of your day. I appreciate it so much. So take care until Monday, and may God bless.